Hello and welcome to the viewers of this video. This is the Orange Fan here, bringing you another entry for the episode Recap and Thoughts category. This video will be dedicated to the B segment of episode 25 of Codename Kids Next Door, Operation T.R.I.P. We begin this segment at the mansion of the delightful children from down the lane, where we see Father is in his room and he's contacting some individuals. Father refers to these individuals as his children, and he tells them that he has a very important mission for them. According to Father, Number 3 is planning a trip to her homeland of Japan, and Father has reason to believe that Number 3 will be meeting with the Japanese sector of the Kids Next Door organization, a sector that's known to be very secretive apparently. Father wants his children to follow Number 3 so that they can find the location of the Japanese sector of the Kids Next Door's headquarters, and Father wants them to contact a powerful ninja army to attack the headquarters of the Japanese sector of the Kids Next Door. Father also makes it very clear that he wants them to contact the ninja army only after they are absolutely certain that they have found the location of the Japanese sector of the Kids Next Door's headquarters, because according to Father, the ninja army pays by the hour. Father also says that he entrusts his children with this mission because they are the greatest trackers and the greatest masters of disguise on his side. While Father is explaining the mission, we also see scenes showing Number 3 boarding an airplane and a stewardess giving Number 3 a lollipop. When the stewardess heads to a private room on the airplane, we soon find out that the stewardess is actually a disguise, and the individuals that are disguising themselves as the stewardess are not the delightful children, but twins, a boy and a girl. And the boy and the girl both have parallel birthmarks, and these birthmarks resemble the yin and yang symbol. These twins are actually known as the interesting twins from beneath the mountain. The male twin is voiced by Tom Kenny, while the female twin is voiced by Tara Strong. And these twins finish each other's sentences. That's their speech pattern, rather than talking in unison like the delightful children. They finish each other's sentences. So the interesting twins assure Father that they will be able to fulfill this mission for him. And so the interesting twins and Father all give an evil laugh about how they plan to set their mission into motion. Eventually, the airplane arrives at Japan, and the interesting twins have taken on another disguise as a woman and a dog. So they're following behind Number 3 as they exit the airplane rather, and the interesting twins are still confident in succeeding in their mission. But soon enough, they notice that it's Free Sombrero Day, and Number 3 has taken a sombrero that she's now wearing. The interesting twins question why a Japanese airport would have a Free Sombrero Day, but they decide that this is only a small bump in the road in their plan. So they proceed to go through the crowd of sombreros, and they do find Number 3, and they are following after her. Number 3 passes by a dog in a cage, and although the dog is barking a lot, Number 3 pets the dog, and the dog rather likes this gesture. As the interesting twins are passing by, they kind of hit the dog because they're annoyed by the dog and telling it to be quiet. But while the dog is angered, the cage opens up and the dog takes a chance to attack the interesting twins before taking a nap. The interesting twins admit that this is another bump in the road for completing their plan, but they're still confident that they will succeed. Soon enough, the interesting twins take up another disguise, just someone in a trench coat, and they follow number 3 to the train station. The interesting twins believe that they have boarded the cart that's next to the cart that number 3 is in, but it turns out that they actually ended up boarding a different train. So yes, this is the train that number 3 was on, and the interesting twins went on a different train, and yeah, they're going in different directions. The interesting twins are able to leave the train that they're on when another train that's going the same direction as number 3's train on a different track goes by. So they jump on that train, and then they eventually jump onto the top of the other train, the one that number 3 is on. When they enter one of the carts, they seem to have entered a storage cart, and they use the supplies within this storage cart to form new disguises as a mother and a baby. Eventually, they see a sombrero sticking out from one of the seats, and they believe that this is number 3. Yes, they believe the sombrero is from number 3. But when they arrive at that particular seat, they notice that the sombrero is being worn by the dog from earlier, and the dog, takes a chance to attack the interesting twins yet again. Number 3 is actually at the front of the train. She's talking to the train's driver, wondering about how fast they're going. The train driver says that they're going about 1,005 miles an hour or something along those lines. And number 3 repeatedly inquires if she can drive the train, but the train driver politely declines, although his patience seems to be wearing thin as number 3 continues to inquire about driving the train. The interesting twins manage to enter a different cart and close the door before the dog can chase after them. But number 3 thinks she sees a panda on the tracks. So the train driver stops the train, and because of the sudden stop to the train and the fact that they're not sitting in seats, the interesting twins are flung all the way through the train, and they crash out through the front of the train, and they crash into a nearby building, the other train station, I presume. Number 3 realizes her mistake. She actually just saw a shadow, and she tries to question about driving the train again. The train driver actually is okay with it now. So eventually the train arrives. Number 3 exits the train, and she's heading for a taxi. The interesting twins recover from the earlier incident with the train, and they disguise themselves as the suitcase that they believe number 3 is bringing with her. But number 3 calls a taxi, and the taxi driver puts the interesting twins in their suitcase disguise into the trunk of the taxi. But we soon find out that this suitcase actually belongs to an old lady. Number 3 was actually calling the taxi for the old lady, and she wishes the old lady a good time on her trip to France, much to the interesting twins' frustration. Luckily for the interesting twins, however, there's a bump in the road that causes them to fall out of the trunk of the taxi, and they end up landing on top of the taxi that number 3 is riding in. The female twin is growing more and more irritated about all these inconveniences that are happening to her and her brother, and she says that number 3 is dishonoring them. But the male twin tries to warn his sister about something, but it's too late. They both end up getting hit by a tree branch as the taxi drives on. The female twin demands that the male twin summon their most powerful vehicle, and he does summon the vehicle right in the middle of the street, and the female twin is gloating some more, but then a big truck, I think it was a tanker truck, it actually zooms by and just destroys the vehicle. So the male twin suggests summoning their second most powerful vehicle. When the scene transitions to a new scene, it looks like their second most powerful vehicle is a two-person bike. Well, they're on a two-person bike right now anyway. But the male twin is confident that things will be going well now because he says that the lollipop they gave number 3 back on the airplane when they were in their stewardess disguise is a tracker. That's right, the lollipop is also a tracker. So he says that the tracker is still working, so they're able to follow number 3 without any troubles. Eventually, though, number 3 leaves the taxi at one point, and she decides that she's finished with the lollipop, so she throws it out and continues to head off on her journey. By the time the interesting twins arrive where the lollipop is, the male twin notices that number 3 is nowhere in sight, but the female twin believes that number 3 is in the trash can, so the female twin jumps into the trash can and is determined to find number 3. The male twin tries to calm his sister down, but she doesn't take too kindly to this. But before she can even finish her sentence, a garbage truck comes by and takes the garbage from the trash can, which ends up bringing the interesting twins along. Eventually, the garbage truck drops the garbage off at a junkyard. And the interesting twins notice that the junkyard is not too far off from number 3's next destination, which is a house on top of a hillside. Yeah, a hillside or a cliffside. Yeah, something along those lines. But anyway, number 3 is just walking up to the house, and the interesting twins are chasing after her. But number 3, while number 3 is walking, she ends up kicking up a pebble, which causes a chain reaction, which leads to a giant boulder starting to roll towards the interesting twins. They're hit with the boulder. Eventually, number 3 enters the house, and she's greeted by a tall individual. But then the interesting twins finally make it into the house, and the female twin is gloating about the ninja army ready to attack, and how number 3 has led them where they want to the location that they were hoping to find. So the male twin is trying to contact the ninja army, but during the middle of the female twin's rant, she soon sees that the individual next to number 3 is an old lady, a different old lady from the one who took the taxi earlier. The female twin takes the communicator and tells the ninja army to call off the attack, and the ninja army are not happy about this. They're pretty bummed out, actually. The female twin stomps on the communicator in anger, and she goes on an angry rant about how number 3 was supposed to lead them to the Japanese sector of the kids next door, not to the house of her grandma. But number 3 just simply says that the old lady next to her isn't her grandma, and this angers the female twin even more, who doesn't believe number 3. The female twin goes on a rant about how she is a master of disguise, so she would know a grandma when she sees a grandma, but she soon stops talking when she sees that the old lady really isn't number 3's grandma. The old lady is actually the rest of the Sector V operatives in disguise, and number 1 says a comment that seems to address the female twin's stunned silence. The female twin starts to cry, saying how she's a failure, and the male twin is horrified to see his sister in despair. He actually goes as far as to call the Sector V operatives monsters for making his sister cry, and saying how all she wanted was to eliminate them. But the male twin starts to go on a rant of his own, saying that they won't spy on the kids next door anymore, but they will return to seek revenge against the kids next door. The male twin starts to laugh, and he tells his sister that they will retreat for now so they can form a plan to seek revenge against the kids next door. And he thinks that the kids next door are in fear over this threat, but really they're just like giving just blank looks on their faces. So the twins exit out of a window of the house, and they end up falling down the hill, and they end up crashing on the ground. The male twin comments that things couldn't possibly get any worse than they already have. But then suddenly, the old lady who took a taxi, the taxi driver, the train driver, and the dog all appear, and they start to talk about how they heard that the interesting twins are looking for the Japanese sector of the Kids Next Door organization. And suddenly we find out that these individuals are in fact the Japanese sector of the Kids Next Door operatives in disguise. The dog was actually 2 operatives in disguise. The rest of them were just 1 operative per disguise. And so the Japanese sector operatives of the Kids Next Door comment that, well, you know, you've found the Japanese sector of the Kids Next Door now. And the segment ends with the interesting twins looking on in fear as the Japanese sector operatives of the Kids Next Door walk closer to them. So although this segment featured number 3 as the Sector V operative that had a lot of attention, number 3 was actually not the viewpoint character of the segment. That is to say, the character that the segment follows along with. The character whose point of view we follow during the story. Yes, number 3 may have been the most prevalent Sector V operative in this segment, but the interesting twins from beneath the mountain were actually the viewpoint characters of this segment. So it was actually pretty cool that we got to have an entry where the villains were the viewpoint characters. And I rather like the interesting twins. I think Tom Kenny and Tara Strong both gave great performances as the twins. They have great chemistry together as the brother-sister duo. And yeah, they definitely complement each other. The birthmarks on their faces are supposed to represent the yin-yang symbol. And you could see that yin-yang, opposites sort of effect with yin-yang. Like how usually the male twin was more composed and calmer for the most part, while the female twin was usually the most belligerent and the most prone to anger. But yes, they both gave great performances, and Tom Kenny and Tara Strong are usually regarded by many fans of Western animation as the king and queen of voiceovers in Western animation, and I agree with those sentiments. There's a lot of merit to those sentiments, I feel, because I think they're very talented at what they do, and I did think they did a great job as the interesting twins. Their performances was part of what I liked about the interesting twins. And the interesting twins themselves, they do kind of bring to mind those teams of joke villains or villains that aren't able to succeed in their objectives. Like the Team Rocket trio from the Pokemon anime comes to mind at first, but I was also reminded of the Wet Bandits from the first 2 Home Alone movies. But yeah, some fans would argue that the interesting twins give the Toilinator a run for his money with regards as the show's status of joke villains. Yes, some fans argue that the interesting twins rival the Toilinator for the status of joke villains in the series. And otherwise, well, this segment also clarified that number 3 actually was born in Japan because they refer to Japan as number 3's homeland. So that kind of helps to flesh out the background for one of the Sector V operatives, which was pretty cool. And there is another sector I'm thinking of, or a segment, pardon me. There's another segment I'm thinking of where another Sector V operative will be visiting their homeland again. So yes, this isn't the only time where a Sector V operative actually pays a visit to where they were born in. So you can expect to hear more about that once we reach that segment's recap and thoughts video, but that won't be for a while. It's not until the last season of the series. Otherwise, Father actually did make an appearance in this segment, and this is Father's last Season 2 appearance. As I've mentioned before, Father, during the course of Season 2, mostly had a behind closed doors effect, or he operated behind closed doors, mostly having others carry out his plans for him. And this was the case here with the interesting twins. That's right, yes. This segment also clarified that the Delightful Children are not the only kid villains that are affiliated with Father. So the Interesting Twins are also affiliated with Father. And I believe there are another group of kid villains affiliated with Father. I think they're actually in the segment that's also about a Sector V operative, a different Sector V operative visiting the country that they were born in. So you can look forward to hearing more about that. So otherwise, yes, that's right. The Japanese sector of the Kids Next Door, the operatives there proved to be masters of disguises as well. And that was pretty clever how we actually have been seeing the Japanese sector operatives throughout the course of the segment, even though, yeah, they were there all along. And it kind of does show that while the Interesting Twins regard themselves as masters of disguise, they kept being fooled by the Japanese sector of the Kids Next Door and the other Sector V operatives as well, who managed to trick the Interesting Twins with the grandma disguise. And that's right, yes, the Interesting Twins had made a threat that they would return, and yes, they do return later on in the series. So we'll cross that bridge when we eventually get to it, but yes, this isn't the last we've seen of the Interesting Twins. And besides that, another detail I noticed is between this segment and its sibling segment, neither number 4 or number 5 actually had any dialogue in... That's right, neither number 4 or number 5 had any dialogue in this segment or its sibling segment. So, yeah, that's a little interesting detail. Not all of these Sector V operatives had spoken during the course of an entire episode, whether it would be the both segments, that's right, because in the past we've had segments where not all the Sector V operatives have appeared, or not all of the Sector V operatives had dialogue. But yes, this is the first time where both segments of an episode had certain operatives from Sector V not talk at all during the course of both segments. So just an interesting little by-the-way detail for anyone who's curious. So otherwise, we have completed we've now discussed the last segment of Season 2 on this channel. So that means next up is the Season 2 finale, which actually is a full episode. So you can look forward to hearing about the Season 2 finale now that we've discussed the rest of Season 2, of course. But otherwise, there we go for now. So as of this video, we've now discussed the B segment of episode 25 of Codename Kids Next Door on this channel. Take care, and until next time.